Alright, welcome to another little experiment video. So the entire point of this is I'm just going to be looking at how much dose weight really matters when it comes to running an espresso shot. And for this test, because I'm going to be dealing with weights, I have pulled out my A&D FX120i, which is a kind of lab grade balance. It only reads a max of 122 grams, but it reads in milligram increments, and it is very, very accurate. You can see as I just move around, this thing moves because it is very, very sensitive to even air currents. So I've got it. This is a big plexiglass enclosure just to keep everything from, messing with it. So if I, let me re-zero this with this in here, I'll show you. I'm also going to tare, and I've got this scale tared with this little trimmed cup here. So let's just measure a couple coffee beans, and you'll see just a little bit of difference. All right, so that says they weigh 0.308. Yeah, 0.3, so that's not too bad. Let's add another. It says 0.4. 0.451. So the advantage of using this type of scale is you can get, obviously, much higher resolution, and regular little scales that people use, since they read to a tenth of a gram, they can be off, as you see, up to, half a gram or more, and still be within their precision. Technically, if this thing reads, 0.45, this scale may read either 0.4 or 0.5, depending on how accurate it is and how they deal with rounding. So this one says 0.4, where, maybe it should read 0.5. But either way, you're not getting the accuracy, and so you can lose a little bit there. And I'm not going to say that that matters too much, but I'm about to run some tests and see exactly how much it matters. So it's going to be a very, very brief, simple test. What we're going to do is I'm going to run 3 shots at 20 gram input, and I'm going to be measuring the ground coffee whenever I do this. So I'm going to do 20 grams, I'm going to do 20.2, and I'm going to do 19.8. I'm going to run 3 shots at each and see just how much of a difference that actually makes. Now, if you're, not quick with math in your head, that's just a 1% plus minus. So what we're going to find out is, does just being off just that 1% actually make any difference in how a shot actually runs? I'm going to run all of the shots exactly the same machine. Everything's going to be as identical as I can make it. I just want to see, moving that dose 1%, what happens. All right, so I did randomize these, and in case you're curious, I've got a little bit of extra fresh ground coffee on the same setting, and I'm using just a bit of a spoon and dropping in just a little bit to trim this up. The first shot needs to be at 19.8. Almost. It's a little over, so then with this hole I can just reach in there and just get just a touch out. There we go. All right, that's going to be good enough. Like I said, anything, within just a touch, that's going to be fine. So there's the first dose. Oh, 11.08, still working. It runs a few tests before it settles. 11.07. All right, so I'm gonna run the other shots and we'll see what comes out. All right, so this is gonna be the last shot. This is 20.2 grams. See how she goes. About 8 bar. 24.7. All right, so we got our data, and let's see what happened. So what we see is that in general, yeah, having some minor variation in your dose actually might matter a little bit as far as the way your shot's going to run. Now, again, this was centered around our 20-gram dose here, and that had two observations that were just under 26 seconds. It had this one of the first shots was pretty long. Like the longest shot that I ran was a little over 28, and that was the first one in the data series that had 20 grams. The 19.8s were all pretty low. All three of them were down here under 25 seconds. The 20.2 shots, two of them were two of the longest shots. Had the last shot that I pulled ran pretty quick. So the averages don't show a huge difference between the 20 gram and the 20.2. Now, again, this is just 3 data points, so they're pretty noisy. But the 19.8 ran on average 2 seconds slower. And I observed lower peak pressures. I only saw 8 bar hit once whenever I was using a 19.8 gram dose. Whenever I was using 20.2, I hit 9 bars twice, and I hit 9 bars twice with 20 grams. So definitely, I think that there is some meaning to making sure that your dose is consistent, because even though, again, this is a very small, noisy data set, there's generally a trend here that, as you increase your dose weight, even small amounts, you can tack on another couple of seconds pretty easy to your shot time. And if that's what you're paying attention to, shot times and pressures, which are, what most people really look at whenever they're dialing in a shot, it's worth paying attention that, you might see a shot run 4 seconds quicker than another. Maybe it's just because that shot was a little heavier. So things to pay attention to, what really matters, what really drives variation. One of the things to pay attention to, definitely how heavy your doses are. People that do espresso often are pretty obsessive, and, people worry about what shape their burrs are and the coatings on the blades and how fast the grinder works and all these little bitty things, like we pay attention to WDT methods and tamping and all this stuff. And something as simple as, small variations in dose weight actually may have a fairly big impact on what you're seeing on your machine. And I just wanted to point that out. So if you got any feedback, feel free to leave it down below as always. Thanks.